In graph 7.3, we use the Cayman Island example to illustrate a pure substitution effect. A substitution effect that involves no change in real income, but arises solely from a change in opportunity costs and therefore occurs solely along a single indifference curve. The direction of this effect is unambiguous. It'll always logically have to be the case that the consumer will reduce her consumption of the good that's become relatively more expensive and increase her consumption of the good that's become relatively cheaper. This is unlike the income effect, where the direction of the effect depended on whether the good was a normal good or an inferior good. The size of the substitution effect, however, depends on the degree of substitutability between the goods. And this is what we explore in the following set of graphs. As in graph 7.3, we'll begin with the budget constraint for the rental car scenario, the scenario under which I have to give up some fixed fee in order to rent the car, but then enjoy a relatively low per mile fee for driving the car around the Cayman Islands. We then add to this graph my brother's budget constraint, the one that's relevant for taking taxis around the island. This budget constraint must again have a higher intercept, because you don't have to dish out a rental car fee up front in order to start taking a taxi. But it also has a steeper slope, because on a per mile basis, it is more expensive to ride around in taxis than it is to drive in a rental car. A person who is indifferent between choosing a rental car or taking taxis from the Cayman airport must therefore have an indifference curve that is tangent to both of these budget constraints. An indifference curve such as the one that's pictured here, with a tangency at A and at B. It's not just that point A lies to the left of point B in the way that we happen to have graphed this here. Point A has to lie to the left of point B because the indifference curve at point A is tangent to a steeper budget constraint than the indifference curve at point B. Steeper portions of the indifference curves occur to the left of shallower portions. Thus we know that at point A, where my brother optimizes, he will choose fewer miles driven during his vacation than I will at point B. Again, this is a pure substitution effect. You can always recognize a pure substitution effect from the fact that it happens along a single indifference curve, because a substitution effect is defined as a change in behavior that holds an individual's well-being fixed but arises from a change in opportunity costs. In our case here, as someone switches from taxis to renting a car, there's a change in the opportunity cost of driving on the island. It becomes cheaper. A substitution effect always says that as a good becomes relatively cheaper, the consumer will consume more of it. As it becomes more expensive, the consumer will consume less of it.